Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Nurses stage a walkout across the country.
The health minister responds to that nationwide nurses demonstration.
3 men deny their role in a multi-million-dollar marijuana bust. That story is straight ahead.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Nearly 500 nurses walked off the job this morning in protest of a new shift system to be implemented by the Public Hospitals Authority. During a demonstration on Shirley Street, Bahamas Nurses Union President AMANCHA Williams said there is no way they will adhere to the new shift system, which nurses claim is a form of modern-day slavery. Their strong opposition also led to those nurses and members of the media being kicked off Princess Margaret Hospital's property. Jasmine Brown reports.
Stand in the road, fighting for our rights. Stand in the road. Tell DUANE, come out and talk to us. That's what we want. They run us out the hospital.
Dozens of disgruntled nurses gathered on the sidewalk on Shirley Street to express their frustration after they were escorted off PMH property by security as they tried to stage a brief demonstration outside the critical care block. The media was also blocked from accessing the property as armed police officers looked on. But that did not stop nurses from voicing their concerns and walking off the job at public health care facilities across the country, including PMH, the Rand Memorial Hospital, and public clinics. BNU President AMANCHA Williams stopped short of calling it a protest, but she insisted nurses wanted to show PHA officials they are not playing around.
It's a walkout. It's not a strike. Today the nurses have taken their lunch hour to come to express to the public their concerns with the shift change. That is what it is. It's not a strike. It's all it is expressing your concerns, and we want the truth to be told to the public. We don't want the public to be misled or hear one side of the story.
The PHA announced the new shift system at a press conference last week, Wednesday. PHA Managing Director Catherine Weish said the new system establishes a 40-hour work week and an 8-hour daily shift, as opposed to the current 10-hour shift for night duty nurses. Weish said the PHA had agreed with the Bahamas Nurses Union to pay all nurses scheduled to work between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. $1.75 an hour, in addition to their standard base hourly pay. But today, Williams not only denied that claim, she also indicated they were insulted by the announcement. She says there is no way nurses will participate in what she deemed a slavery shift.
We will not work that shift change. We will not work that shift change. And that is across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It's not written in the industrial agreement.
BNU Secretary General Julian Mullings accused the PHA of being insensitive and trying to intimidate nurses.
They wanted to bully the nurses union to come to the table.
Yes.
And demanded that we met with them on a certain day and time and to sign documents within 10 days. You don't bully the union.
No.
We are supposed to be partners in this whole affair.
Yes.
Relations between nurses and the PHA broke down earlier this year when more than 200 of them called in sick over staffing and other issues. The union threatened industrial action several times. A strike vote was taken on June 7th, during which time 377 nurses voted to strike while 7 opposed. The Department of Labor has failed to honor the vote, saying nurses on some islands did not get an opportunity to vote. Now, the nurses were not alone today. Executives of the National Congress of Trade Unions and Trade Union Congress were also present to show their support.
These nurses have had enough, and you must deal with them, and you must deal with them now.
If you're changing the conditions, you have to negotiate. This
right.
is, I mean,
That's
I'm just appalled. I'm just appalled that this nonsense is happening at the hospital. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand. You know, I mean, what it could take for us to shut the place down and then they can run on and say, well, you know, they're being unreasonable and this, that, and next. Listen, man, PHA, get to the damn table and stop doing foolishness, man.
Yes, yes.
Now the nurses say they are willing to sit down and talk with officials to see if they can come to some kind of mutual agreement. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, as nurses walked off the job, the Ministry of Health braced for impact, rushing to warn patients of a possible disruption in services at all public health care facilities across the country. Health Minister Dr. DUANE Sands accused nurses of being hasty and warned that the only person suffering as a result of their actions are patients. Julian Gray has that.
We have reliable information that the Bahamas Nurses Union are planning a national event.
Ahead of Monday's protests, the Ministry of Health released this statement, warning patients that there may be an interruption of services at public health facilities, namely Princess Margaret Hospital, Sandilands Rehabilitation Center, the Rand Memorial Hospital, and public clinics throughout the country from Monday to Wednesday. Health officials further advised that only limited services would be available at all facilities, and patients may experience delays. Therefore, only critically ill persons should show up at public health care facilities.
That elective surgical procedures be postponed or delayed or even canceled. Unfortunately, the public suffers in this instance.
Sands says they implemented a contingency plan to have additional staff step in for the duration of the demonstration. However, when our news visited public health facilities on Monday, it appeared to be business as usual.
The health minister said it is very unfortunate that nurses have decided to stage a nationwide demonstration, seeing as he has made it very clear that PHA and the ministry are both more than open to dialogue.
I have spoken with the nursing president today. I have made it very clear that my ministry is open to ongoing negotiation to settle this matter, and that I think we should seek a negotiated compromise. She said that she would get back to me.
Sands said nurses were too quick to act, adding that the PHA has been as flexible as it can be. The major point of contention is a new shift system proposed by PHA to be implemented by December 10th. Sands said the 4-on, 4-off shift system has created a 30% artificial shortage of nurses, meaning that while beds may be available, people would still be turned away if there are not enough night nurses to care for them. As for nurses' assertion that the $1.75 per hour payment is an insult, the health minister said he thinks it's more than fair.
Night shift is the shift which is the least labor intensive. So there are no operations performed other than emergencies. There are no procedures being performed other than emergencies. And without diminishing the significance of the night shift, for the most part, the activity that takes place on the wards during that time period is less than takes place during the day and in the afternoon.
Dr. Sands said he is not opposed to enlist the help of an arbitrator to get the problem resolved, but a raise in pay must be considered within the wider context of healthcare funds.
The minute we agree an increase in salary, if it were possible, then the line staff of the hospital, the laboratory technicians, the maintenance staff, the imaging technicians, etc., will likely follow suit in their demands.
Reporting for our News, I'm Julian Gray.
Well, Sands, meantime, has denied claims that the Bahamas government is working on a patient's Bill of Rights that would address a woman's right to have an abortion. He was responding to questions from the media after senior nursing officer in his ministry, Sherry Brister, suggested to the United Nations last week that government is working on a bill that will address the issue of abortion.
There is no language in the draft Patient Bill of Rights that speaks directly to abortion. And understanding what a hot button topic this is, and the fact that we live in an admittedly conservative community, walking down this road requires significant consultation and consideration of the views of our people. The Ministry of Health has not, nor has the Office of the Attorney General engaged in any activity to change the existing laws on abortion on the books in the Bahamas.
The health minister said CDAW does have a specific agenda it must follow, and as part of a global community, the Bahamas will have to address how it deals with sexual rights, all forms of discrimination, as well as vulnerable populations.
CDAW is concerned about intimate partner violence, a massive problem in the Bahamas and in the world. And so this is not going to go away, and we just need to be brutally honest about where we are and how we intend to deal with this matter this year, next year, 5 years from now.
Well, nearly a week after the National Health Insurance Authority revealed its draft policy paper for a reworked National Health Insurance Plan, executives of several unions are speaking out. President of the Bahamas Nurses Union, AMANCHA Williams, telling our news today that the BNU was not consulted.
The new tax, I disagree on the new tax. There should have been a better way. We're paying 12% now. Our salaries have not increased. We are the low to the scale with a bachelor's degree.
According to the draft policy paper released last Tuesday, employees would pay 2% of their salary to a maximum of $42 per month, with the employer paying the remainder of the premium. A revamped NHI would cost taxpayers $100 million a year, according to the Minister of Health. But Williams says the BNU cannot support NHI in its current form. While the BNU voiced its opposition to NHI, Vice President of the National Congress of Trade Unions, Paul Maynard, said he is all for NHI. However, he says there needs to be more dialogue about funding.
I've always been on the NHI bandwagon, but I mean the NHI has to happen, but you have to consult everybody. Now they have consulted our union, the NCTUB, and I was made to understand that they were supposed to consult the NCTUB as well. I mean the PUC, PUC as well. That should have happened. But I mean we have to get together and make NHI happen, and the unions have to get behind it. I mean, the country is only as good as you treat your old people and your young people. And right now, this country ain't looking too good.
Communications Director for the Trade Union Congress, Fred Mullings, says the TUC has been consulted, but not in depth.
We support the concept and principle of NHI. However, as Brother Minard has stated, it's an ongoing discussion, and they have to include labor on any decision that the government makes with respect to NHI. We have not had those conversations. We did have a meeting with Dr. Robin Roberts some months ago, but it's an ongoing discussion. You just cannot arbitrarily, because you have had one meeting with an organization, to say that you're being unreasonable if you don't agree with everything that you say. That's what negotiations are.
In other news, 19-year-old Ivans Dodo was charged with a single count each of murder and attempted murder before Chief Magistrate JULIAN Ferguson Pratt. It is alleged that Dodo, seen here in the orange shirt while on the island of New Providence, intentionally and unlawfully caused the death of Jamal McSweeney on Sunday, October 21st. Police say on the same day, the Meadow Street resident attempted to unlawfully and intentionally cause the death of Kevin Sanchez. He was not required to enter a plea to the charges, and his matter is set to be fast-tracked to the Supreme Court on December 19th. Also appearing before the Chief Magistrate on murder and attempted murder charges was 28-year-old Kevin Wims, seen here in the pink shirt. Police alleged that the Parker Street resident unlawfully and intentionally caused the death of Kelson Kelly on October 23rd. It is also alleged that the 28-year-old attempted to unlawfully and intentionally cause the death of Kelly on that day. Wims, who wasn't represented by an attorney, told Magistrate Ferguson Pratt that at the time of the murder and attempted murder, he was in police custody at the Central Detective Unit. He also asked that his property be given to his cousin, who was present in court. He was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections and will return to court on December 19th, where he is expected to be served with a voluntary bill of indictment. Also from the courts, 3 men were arraigned on multiple drug charges after police say they found them off the coast of South Andros with $3.8 million worth of marijuana. Jared Hicks has the details.
34-year-old Kenny Theodore Major, seen here with the short haircut, 36-year-old Patrick Anton Bain wearing the long-sleeve white shirt, and 41-year-old Brian Marshall with the dreadlocks were all charged with 4 drug-related offenses in connection with a marijuana seizure last Thursday. In the first count, possession of dangerous drugs with intent to supply, police allege that the men were found in possession of 3,870 pounds of Indian hemp in the area of Fish Key, South Andros. The men were also charged with importation of dangerous drugs, with police alleging that the 3 Grand Bahama residents, while being concerned together, did smuggle Indian hemp into the Bahamas. The trio was also accused of conspiring to possess Indian hemp with intent to supply and conspiring to import Indian hemp into the Bahamas. Major of Fortune Point, Bain of Midshipman Road, and Marshall of Arden Forest pleaded not guilty to all 4 charges, which were read to them by Deputy Chief Magistrate Subasola Swain. They were represented by attorneys Ian Cargill and David Cash.
Now the men will return to court on February 1st of next year. That's when they're expected to stand trial. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Still to come on Our News, the 2018 STEP survey launch. The details are after this break.